Greetings everybody, Krish Dhanam, and I'm an author and a speaker. I have been known to make people laugh a little, cry a little, and think a little. So maybe we'll laugh a little before we get into the whole concept of selflessness in service. One day I was speaking at an event and I was talking about service within the confines of the family and how we need to be committed to each other and how relationships are fragmenting. So a young man misinterpreted my message, thinking there was a quantitative formula in which you could somehow make your marriage magically work. He looked at me and he says, "Mr. Dhanam, how often should I tell my wife I love her?" I said, "Before somebody else does." So that's just the general principle in being selfless. You cannot have it cannot be an ulterior motive. So if you look at the concept of service, if you're serving expecting something in return, that's manipulation and it will backfire. So looking at selflessness and service being other people focused, not worrying about whether you get anything out of it, is almost archaic in this day and age because we want an outcome for any expected input. In fact, we are so selfish now that we want to manipulate not effort, we want to manipulate outcome, and we want equality of outcome, not equality of effort, which is a myth. In all of the world that I've traveled, I've asked people two questions. Do you want fairness or do you want equality? And 100% of the people say fairness, I just want to be able to play the game. But society somehow thinks that they're going to rig the rules to be 100% of equality. That's a myth. Now, many of you remember fresh on our minds the recent pandemic that for the first time shut down the world. In fact, one person on a flight said, "Hey, for the first time in the world, we all have the same problem." I said, "No, since the beginning of creation, we've all had the same problem. It was called sin. It's just manifested now into a pandemic." And as we were dealing with the pandemic, my then 87-year-old father was locked in an apartment in Vizag that he had gone to sell. And after a couple of days of managing by himself, he had now come into day number 55 and 56, where even the Maggi noodles and the oats that were there in the house had dried up. And he called me quite frantic in the US. He says, "I don't know what you can do from there." I said, "I can practice what I preach and teach someone a very simple method." I called one of the churches that operate near my dad's house that I had worked with, found a parishioner who lived a kilometer from my dad, and simply said to him, "I need you to take these supplies to my dad. Just WhatsApp him, he'll tell you what he needs." The guy looked at me, he says, "Uncle, but there's a barricade right in front of his house." I said, "I picked you because you're on the other side of that barricade. Here's what you're going to do. After you get my dad's list, I want you to pack 2 supply sets. Now make sure that it's identical. Everything my dad asked for, my dad's a brand guy, so he'll probably ask for branded items, which is fine. Make sure that you pack the same identical set of supplies branded. If possible, see if you can get them to put it in a bag which has the name of the store so the guy getting it knows he's getting it from a branded store. Now walk up to the barricade and look at the policeman in all humility and say, I know that you're here guarding us for our safety. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but there's an 85-year-old man or 87-year-old man in that house up there. I need to get these supplies to him. I know you're just doing your job, but I also know something else, that by the time your shift finishes at the end of the day, the stores may be empty. You may have to go to your house and deal with some of the same problems we are dealing with, in addition to the duty you're so diligently doing. So I've just brought you 1 set of supplies for your family. If you'll just let me go and take care of this old man, every time I come to supply him, I promise I'll supply you as well." And that worked like a charm for the next 3 weeks. Every time my dad needed something, we bought a set of supplies for the people at the barricade. Now here's the reason they don't react. The human problem is the same. Everybody in this world wants the same 8 things: to be happy, to be healthy, to be reasonably prosperous, to have friends, to have security, peace of mind, good family relationships, and hope. They manifest into work we do, into details we follow, into jobs we pursue, into careers we aspire to. If we aspire to reach people at the basic human need, dignity enters the picture, friendships begin to form, but the motive is very clear. There's nothing ulterior about this. I'm helping you because it's the right thing to do, and I know you would do it for me too.